Louie C. the Mayor, sorry we had a little glitch on the program, but listen, like they say in show business, show must go on, so here we go, part two. So in case you missed the intro, we have one of the biggest dogs in the county right here when it comes down to health. This is the buck stops with him, this gentleman right here sitting to my right. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's fact and there's fiction. So on this show, we're going to get to the meats and potatoes of what's really going on. And you're more than welcome to ask questions. Mr. Bob Eadie, Monroe County Health Department, welcome to the show. I see that you made it in right before the rain came in, so you had a great time.
Yes.
So how's it going? How are you feeling? How's everything?
Well, when you said, what was it, 362 of these?
363, actually.
363. Well, you know, I've been doing it a little bit longer than 363. So I'm okay. We're okay, except I think all of us are tired, and rightfully so. And not only are you concerned about, and it may be too long an answer, but you know, it's not that we're concerned just about the disease, but I think all of us are tired too, and they're just been bombarded with so much information.
Right. It's tough to keep up. Our job around here is to, obviously your job is to get information out there.
Yes.
And, we got to get information out because there's a lot of misinformation and people are seeking information, and we need to tell them, what that information is, because we might, be able to get some information that somebody needed that might save a life or might help somebody else or whatever. So, to you guys, I mean, I don't think, your job description ever was going to, be dealing with this type of stuff with a pandemic. So once again, I thank you for your time. And like I said, off camera, it's very hard to deal with a pandemic when you never had a manual for it, never been involved in one,
right.
And very few people living in the world that have actually went to, 1918 or something like that,
right.
With the Spanish flu, which a lot of people don't know lasted quite a long time. I think it was a couple of years or even longer than
3
that.
years.
Gotcha. So can you please just give the people an introduction about yourself? How did you come to Key West? And so from people watching worldwide, please share on the Facebook right over here, boop, and on the YouTube, subscribe right here. There's a little button. Greatly appreciate it right over here, boop, and thank you all for all the love.
Well, I came to the Keys, I think in the middle 80s. It was the first time my wife and I came here. And after that happened, I had my middle daughter married someone that was here as a fishing guide for several years. I ended up going to Tallahassee as the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Health, and then from there I came here.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. I have, when I was here, it's like I felt like I was coming home, even though I had not lived here. I had been here lots of times, but it felt good to be here. I've never regretted the decision.
Whoever wrote that paper that said, send Mr. Eadie down there to keep us, please tell him I say thank you so much. Now, I'm guessing, I could be wrong, are you a Florida State Seminole fan?
No, actually, I'm a Tar Heel.
Okay,
I'm
nice.
from North Carolina originally.
Because, I got the hurricane shirt.
I understand that.
So we came from Tallahassee, so, okay. So we're going to get to the meats and potatoes. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please come on, and we're going to try to answer all questions that we can. But we're going to really touch on some stuff here that people want to know. So my first question is, how are we doing compared to the entire state of Florida with the pandemic and Key West?
We're doing okay. In fact, I saw we were had statistics that we were number one, which means we were the least with passing, I think, the infections. But there are still a great number of infections every day coming here. We're seeing a spike in infections, so it's still here. We're not out of the woods yet, and so we've done a good job. I think when we were discussing earlier about the roadblock, did a good job of keeping the influx of infected people out of the Keys to some extent. Now we're seeing a spike going back up. It started the first of around the first part of July. It'll coincide with the 4th of July and so many people here, and continued with the lobster season. It's the more people you bring in from different areas, it just means that there's there's more virus within your community, and so the chance of spreading it is so much more. However, to answer your question, and shut me up if I go on too long,
No,
but
you're good.
we've done a good job with getting people vaccinated, and I think that helps very much with what's happening. The problem we have right now is that the spike that we have, the people that are ill are unvaccinated. So
Okay.
I push vaccinations just as much as I can. I also push the health practices that are recommended, which is washing your hands, socially distance, strongly wear a mask, I say, because it'll help and avoid crowds. So
Gotcha.
that's where we are.
And you know, just jumping forward, speaking about crowds, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's resumed not only in the
Yes.
Keys but nationwide. So correct me if I'm wrong. Once people were essentially locked down and things were shut down in the peak of the pandemic, right?
Right.
It gave less chance of people getting infected because there's less people on the streets, less chance of people going around people,
Right.
and kind of everything is
Right.
you know, shut down, right?
Right.
So now we go basically back to, you know, regular life, and people are out and about,
Right.
and people resume their regular lives. So would that pretty much common sense will tell you, if you go back to, you know, regular lifestyle, that you're going to see more cases? I mean, I don't know if this is the last variant that'll happen. I'm not a scientist or whatever, but because people ask me that, somebody shared their opinion with me, and they said, of course you're going to see more cases because more people are out and about. So definitely, because we're seeing more cases now than in the peak of the pandemic in the Keys. Is that correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we are. And the reason for that is the Delta variant, which is predominantly the strain that we are seeing in Monroe County. And it is much more virulent, meaning it will, there's more, when it's around, it has a lot more virus that goes into the air, much more so.
More contagious, right?
More contagious.
Right.
It also seems to be maybe a stronger version of the original one, so people get sick. And the thing is that right now what we're seeing is the fact that if you're vaccinated, there are some breakthrough infections. We'll talk about that whenever you want to. But the thing is right now, it is when you talk about people going back doing what they did before, then those that are not vaccinated are just more susceptible to being infected, and because it's a stronger disease, if you want to look at it that way, they're much more likely to have serious effects from the COVID.
Gotcha. So in a nutshell, what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, you recommend taking the vaccine?
Oh yes, I think with you were alluding to it, the vaccine is the best and quickest way we will see the pandemic to go away. And to just explain in sort of a quick way is what you try to do when I was talking about those public health practices is anything you can do to keep someone who is infected, who's carrying the disease, away from other individuals that don't have the disease, then the disease will eventually die out if there's nobody to keep infecting and infecting. Vaccine is one of the ways that builds a barrier up quicker, and is keeping the virus from being transmitted from a carrier to someone who could get it.
Which one do you recommend to take?
Whatever one you can get first.
Okay.
To be honest with you, all three of the vaccines, there's Johnson & Johnson, which is a one-dose vaccine, Moderna, and Pfizer. All of those vaccines have proven to be extremely effective of keeping people from having serious side effects from the disease or serious effects from the disease.
Let me ask you this,
Okay.
because a lot of people want to ask this, but they're not in a position to ask these questions because they're not sitting up here. So you looking at the choice yourself of the three that you could have took, did you favor one over the other?
I took Moderna,
Okay.
and the reason I did was because that's what we took. Originally, Pfizer had to have such, it had to be handled with super cold refrigerators and things like
That's right.
that.
I remember
That we chose, or I chose for Monroe County to use Moderna originally because it was easier for us to handle large amounts of it and have large vaccination events.
Gotcha.
But all of them are extremely effective.
Which one is the one that just got approved?
That's
from
Pfizer.
Pfizer.
Pfizer, and
Okay.
it is full approval now, which means it's not under the emergency use authorization, but it's been through the normal practices that the FDA does to authorize.
And any other ones that probably trying to get that approval?
It should be within weeks, if not days.
I believe all three of them are going to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of misinformation out there about stuff in the hospital and deaths and all that. So over on this show, we like to do what's called Blood Raw. We're gonna give you the facts. So how many people have actually died from the pandemic in the Florida Keys?
Officially right now, 53.
Okay.
We are waiting though on 4 more to be officially confirmed. So
Okay.
I think you will find that probably 57 is the number at this point in time that have died.
All love right now. Thank you all for tuning in to the podcast. Please share right over here. Boop! Hit the subscribe button right over here on YouTube. Boop! In case you just joining us right now, Bob Eadie, the buck stops with this man right here. He's going to give it to you raw, what's really going on, so you have all the information. Terry, you got anybody checking in?
JC, Becky Hernandez.
Hey, JC, Becky, thank you. If you got any questions, feel free to come in. Now, this is, I said $1 million question, but this is probably a $2 million question, right? So, do curfews make sense for our city?
I think curfews you would do better to figure out how to get people to wear masks, how to get people to be vaccinated. Curfews can work, yes, but then how do you enforce it? The thing is, we need to get people to get vaccinated is what really needs to be done.
Okay.
However, we convince people to do that is much more important, I think, than some of these other measures.
Right. Because we know this is a topic with Fantasy Fest, and we're going to be going to talk about this, the mayor is and the city commissioners, September 1st, and I know that they said in the last meeting they're going to have health professionals, so I think they got you on top of the chart there. My opinion on this is that if you have people coming to a city, which we know that people are still going to come, kind of like New Year's Eve, and you're in an open space, there's a better chance of spreading out, because if you clear a street and you send people to go somewhere, they got to go somewhere, they can't just leave the whole county, then it's probably more likely that they're going to interject with each other. Therefore, I think given a higher risk of people getting infected, because if you have 20,000 people spread out over a large area, it's going to be less chance people get infected than if you have them all, let's say compacted. I mean, would you agree or disagree with
The further you are away from people, the better off you are.
So, like I said, I know common sense, so they asked me what I think we should do, and two things you already mentioned. Number one, I think you should have vaccine stations wherever you can set them up. If you can have 29 of them, have 29. If you can have 290 of them, set them up, because then we can't force people at gunpoint to take a vaccine, but we could offer, right? And then have, wherever you turn, right, left, middle, upside down, you should have masks for people in case they want to have masks. That's the first two things I thought about. Can we do anything? Try to offset it. You shouldn't go where there's crowds at all. Then you have a better chance. But we know people are going to come. That's where they come in for. So what else do you recommend if you was asked, like, from the Fantasy Fest officials, or what to do further?
Well, you got to remember first that yes, I'm willing to vaccinate everybody to stick their arm out, but before you vaccinate, I mean, it will be anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks after a vaccination or after your full course of vaccination before your immunity is fully realized. Mask, I think, is a great idea. I think an idea that could really help us is in those events that people are coming to, for like with private businesses, if they would want to require people to either show that they have been vaccinated or show a fairly recent COVID test,
Yeah.
and then make everybody wear a mask. I think that way we would be doing everything we could to make sure there are people that, one, are vaccinated, but also are trying to keep the spread of the disease down. And I realize it's an economic issue in a lot of ways, but to limit the number of people in any kind of venue that you can, so that you could have people space one another.
Gotcha. So I just want to make sure I understand it. So in your opinion, if you could require people, private business, to show the vaccination card, you would stress to do that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think, yes. I think that would go a long way to showing, one, we're serious about what we're doing, but also it would assure most of the people that are going to be in whatever that inside venue,
Right.
that they're with people that have been vaccinated,
Right.
or at least people that are not actively infected.
Gotcha. Which comes back to capacities and crowds.
Sure. Right.
And, you know, like I said, right now, you know, like I said, I spend some time in the office, but I spend a lot of time on the streets. So sometimes if you don't get to the streets, in theory, shake hands and kiss babies, you really don't know what's going on out there. And the reality of it is, like right now, people are going day-to-day lives, and they're going into establishments in entertainment, food, and
Right.
they choose to go there. Because to
Right.
me, if you don't want to be part of this, then basically don't go to an event. I understand the point too, that you come in and then you might infect some people and then you leave infection in the community. I understand that. So I don't think all the way right field is the best answer. All the way left field is the best, somewhere in the middle, which I guess I have to ask you this question just straight up. Is there any reason at all that you see to cancel Fantasy Fest?
Not at this time, but I would hope there are some real serious discussions, in the near future. The reason I'm saying that is we seem to be at a peak, maybe a plateau or whatever. I'd like to have just a little bit more time to see what's going on, and hopefully we can get more people vaccinated now, and so we could go forward with that. But if things changed unabated as the way they're going right now, with hospitalizations and with the amount of infections, I would think that there would be jeopardy as to whether Fantasy Fest ought to go on.
Just to be clear, if you see a skyrocket going up straight like a
Yes.
bullet, but by the time we get, let's say, closer, I don't know what the time. Here's the problem: damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because
Yes.
you can't
Right.
cancel the day before.
Right.
We're probably already, right around the corner, which most of the hotels are booked
Right.
and stuff like that. So I'm the first one to say that if you have an issue where it's just overwhelming, that you can see, Ray Charles could see that there's a problem, then you gotta make some happen. However, I go back to the balancing act, because I say this, and I said it during the pandemic. Most people that worked in city government or in regular business, they didn't lose a check. Matter of fact, they gain income, because you got supplement checks and you got overtime, you got time and a half. Unfortunately, my entertainment people, some of them had to go on Facebook Live to eat a ham sandwich. So here's where we, damn if you do, damn
Right.
if you
Right.
don't. But I appreciate you being practical, because obviously you can't mandate what you just said. This is not
Right.
a law by law. You can't make people do this in private business. However, you could recommend. Now, if somebody's going to follow that or not, that depends on the individual, because there are some people that will follow that, and some people said absolutely not, they're not even gonna have their own people that have masks. But I think that if you, as a government and as a city, and you know, we got a lot of smart people around here, do the best you can. Here's 54 things that we recommend that we could do. I think that would be the best thing. But to actually, you know, force something, because if you had to make a call right now, yes or no, you're telling me today the answer would be no, that you wouldn't push an issue to cancel today.
No, as of today, I wouldn't say, but I think you make an incredibly important point, and that is that the decisions that we make, one, the more that they're popular, the more people are willing to do what we recommend, the better
Right.
off we all are. So you've
Right.
got to find that balance, just like you're saying, wherever it may be. And I am extremely sensitive anytime I try to say something to make sure that I understand there are people that need to go to work every day. There are people that need paychecks. And so how do we protect people, their families as well as we can, but also allow them to one, earn a living, and also to let people have some sort of a life, as opposed to when we were just locked down.
Okay, that's fair enough, and I think that's a fair statement. And you know, like I said, we just got to get the word out there. And to me, you know, I'll use an example. We talk about cruise ships, right?
Right.
So basically, the voters have voted. I say that if I put you in office, your job is to do what's best for the whole community.
Correct.
Right? You need to talk to people in Midtown, Old Town, and then you gotta make a tough decision. Now, if you don't have any gain from cruise ships, you're just gonna say, well, I don't have any gain from cruise ships, and this is how I feel, and then you might vote that way. So I'm not a fan of referendum in this particular case. I would think that each commissioner would get the information, review the information, and then make a decision on what's best for the whole community. Whatever that is, I'll respect. So when you compare this to what's going on, I say, well, yeah, you're going to get smaller ships. You had 1.2 million. Now you might lose Mallory Square, but you might not lose next door, the private. So you take a little bit less and go from there. So if more people had dialogue like we're doing, and put a round table, what is it that we could do instead of going black? Because it don't have to be a war. Obviously,
Right.
No matter which way you vote up there, it's not going to appease everybody. And all you can do is state the facts. So let me ask you this. How about people, like I'm leaning more now, I'll be straight up on the program, we keep it blood raw around here. I haven't had the vaccine. The only reason is because, like I told you off camera, I don't like to take any pills or anything unless I have to. However, if I see that this is the way to go, I'll do it. So I'm doing the research. I'm very happy. My daughter's been telling me to get vaccinated for the longest. Now I see the FDA approved it. So I'm just doing the research. But like we say
And
here,
the guy sitting beside you is telling you to get the vaccine.
right. So like I tell this gentleman, if you're in production and you're saying this is the way we need to go on production, you got to listen to people who know more than me. So for the people that are still on the fence, is there any cons at all to take the vaccine? This is $1 million question also.
Well, I mean, okay, let's see if I can do this quickly. I mean, the vaccine is not going to be 100% effective for everyone. And there are going to be some people probably that medically should not take the vaccine, but that's a decision that should be made by a medical provider that knows you and know where you
What
go
would be,
from there.
just sorry, what would be a case like that they say you're not a good candidate?
It could be that it could be you have some immune deficiency, or you have some sort of allergy or something that would cause the vaccine to work against your own system. There are no scientific, or I have not seen any reason not to get the vaccine, other than that. I mean, there are a million reasons on Facebook, but on whatever social media that it'll make women sterile, and that's not true, because people that have had, I mean, look how many people have been pregnant after they've been vaccinated. the thing that's scary too is I just read that there's a woman that just delivered and she died from COVID, wishing she had the vaccine. So the vaccine, I know what COVID will do to you. I haven't seen what a vaccine will do in the same sort of situation. There's no reason I know of not to get vaccinated.
Okay. So some of these things that you see in the news, that somebody took the vaccine and they had ill effects, and there has been people that take the vaccine and have died, right? Is that correct?
No, not that I know of. The vaccine, to my knowledge, there has not been a case.
In the whole United States?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Now,
So this stuff is
wrong.
So this stuff that we're seeing out there, it's really not factual, because that or whatever, that some of the people, don't want to take it because somebody took it, had a ill effect. Now,
I will give. There are a good number. My wife was even like that for about a day and a half. Especially the second dose of Moderna, she felt really badly. But the thing that was interesting was, it's 1 hour she felt really badly, and then an hour later she felt fine. And I've heard that more and more. It's just a side effect.
Right.
But she's recovered. I didn't even know that I had the vaccine. Somebody was talking to me when my nurse was going to give it to me, and I didn't know she'd given it to me until I felt the Band-Aid going on, and I had no side effects. So I know, like I say, I know what what COVID will do to people and is doing to people. The vaccination. And I wish I could remember those figures. I've got so many going in my head, but we were talking about it. But there are breakthrough infections. Part of that is just this Delta variant will give you so many, it overloads your system with virus that it takes a while, if you're vaccinated, for your immune system to kick in. And so that may happen. But the number of people that happens to is very, very low. And the thing too is, if you get sick, the vaccines are still incredibly effective at keeping you from having serious long-term consequences.
That's another thing that it's a miscommunication, misinformation. So I just want to get once again to the meats and potatoes. You just joined us right now, please share the video right over here. Boop! On the subscribe, hit the subscribe button right over here. Boop! So what I want to get to is, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just break this down so anybody can understand it like a second grader. So, for example, if you take the vaccine, that does not guarantee you that you won't have the COVID, number one. Number two, what it does do is, if you have the COVID, right, even if you're vaccinated, by you taking the vaccination, it gives you a better chance to get through it quickly and prevent you as strong as it can from death. Did I miss anything?
No, I mean, that's, if you look, I mean, the numbers are like 95 to 97% of all people that are hospitalized are unvaccinated. When I say it's an epidemic now of the unvaccinated, that's because the people in the hospital have not been vaccinated. And the ones even that have breakthrough infections, by and large, their infections are not serious, they're not life-threatening. There are some, but if you look at the number of people that have been vaccinated, it's a small number. And like I say, you look at that number of 95, 97% of all people in the hospital have not been vaccinated. That's
let me answer, and I appreciate your time coming in today, because I think this is going to help the community a lot, because we're going to definitely put a push on this on YouTube and get this out there. And I personally going to send you to Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Ward. I'm going to send this to everybody that I know, because like that, at your own leisure, instead of a jam-packed situation, you could hear from the horse's mouth what he has said on this program. I don't think he's going to say anything different unless something changes. So a breakthrough infection, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
So So what does that mean in this particular situation when you have a breakthrough infection?
It means that you have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and yet for whatever reason, you actually come down with a case of COVID. In other words, you're actually sick. Is the best way to say it. It's a mild sickness, like maybe a cold or maybe a little more severe than that. There is the possibility that it'll be more serious than that, but that's generally what's going to happen. It will keep you from being sick, and it will keep you from having any kind of long-term health issues that even if you survive a really severe infection with COVID, you may indeed what they call long COVID. You may have
Long haulers?
yes,
Okay.
long haulers. You may have conditions that linger for a long time.
So once again, let me ask you this. So if you had the COVID, let's say you had the COVID
Yes.
and you didn't get vaccinated, you still could get the COVID again, especially with the new variant, right?
You can, yes.
Is it likely, unlikely, or
It is unlikely, but it's possible.
So,
Because if you've had the disease, you still have those antibodies built up
for a certain amount of time, right?
For a certain amount of time.
Roughly
yes.
6 months. Give or take.
Yes, and part of the thing that's going on with there, if you remember, we didn't even know COVID existed until December of 2019. It was
Right.
never in humans, so that's not very long. We haven't had vaccines since the first of the year, so you only really know how long it'll last by the passage of time. But 6 or 8 months is a good indication so far that you still have a
What
good
I
bit.
tell people, and once again, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, if you had the COVID or are vaccinated, okay, it's unlikely that you get the
Yes.
variant again.
Right.
However, if you haven't had the COVID, have no COVID, and not vaccinated, it's likely that most likely
Yes.
you're a high rate of getting it.
Yes.
So if you had the COVID, it's kind of strange. It makes you, less vulnerable to get it. This is another thing that's holding, people back. Because I already had the COVID. I don't really like, vaccinations or anything. So you could see somebody's, point on that. However,
Correct.
with the new information that came out, which I want to understand this very clearly. With the information that's come out, it says now there's 9 more times for you not to get it because it actually boosts your own immune
Yes.
system,
Yes.
and that's because of the vaccine.
Right.
Is
Correct.
that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Even if you've had COVID, it is recommended that after 2 weeks you get vaccinated, and that's what you're trying to do is have your body be able to have the antibodies to fight off an infection. And what these vaccines have done is make it so your body recognizes when the COVID virus is in your system, it recognizes it and produces antibodies that will effectively control the infection.
Now, I'll have you known that basically with my employees, if you even remotely look like you're sick, you're not coming to work.
Oh yeah, that's
That's been off
that's
the
a
bat.
huge
Well,
sign.
no, I'm feeling
Huge
okay.
sign.
No, you need to just stay
Correct.
home. It's a new day. This ain't back in
Yeah.
the day. You wing it. Stay home, get some rest, watch cartoons, Netflix, whatever it is that y'all do. And you know what? I don't care if we have a revenue loss because we're shorthanded because it's just going to be worse. Because
Yes.
somebody could get really
Yes.
ill, you're going to infect more people, and you're going to have
Yes.
more revenue loss.
Exactly.
So you have to. This is another thing that employers need to do or whatever. You're going to have to deal with it. If somebody's sick or whatever, and they tell you that they're sick, don't pressure them to come
Right.
in. It should
Right.
never happen anymore,
Right.
especially.
It may not be, well, yes, because if you're sick, stay home. If your child is sick, keep the child home. And that's to prevent spreading the infection. Also, if you're sick and you kind of work through it, your antibody system, your immune system is somewhat weakened. If you're pushing, working, and things like that, you're not helping it do
Absolutely
its
not.
job.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I mean, it's a good way of prolonging whatever agony you think you're going
It's
to.
common sense now. Don't push the issue. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't want one other person to die in the world
Well, I don't either.
because making a bad decision. Like for example, when T Much, you're up next. So, for example, I didn't feel well. There was people at the bar didn't feel well. This was in the middle of the pandemic. I said we're going out there to the advanced urgent care and getting tested by force. That by force you're gonna go because you ain't gonna come here till you get tested, right? So we go over there. I test positive. I already knew what it was because I had all the symptoms: body ache, little bit of taste, the smell, being weak, the whole 9 yards, right? Here's the funny part about my mom. Also went get tested. She's elderly. Her test came back negative. However, her antibodies came out positive. Ain't that something? Like 80 years old or whatever. So she had went through it asymptomatic. Didn't even know that she had it. So now, like I said, when I'm seeing all this information, I'm gathering information, and I think that probably the vaccine is a good way to go, especially when I'm keeping hearing it from people like you that really know what's going on. You live it, and you actually done it yourself.
Right.
So you can be stubborn all you want, but what I feel bad for is where people get sick, and some of them end up dying. And then I hear these horror stories that they're saying, well, maybe I took the vaccines, but some of them still say, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But I just ask you to get the research. And don't be, when you see something that keeps coming up the same way, you probably should go with it. You talk to 9 different people, and let's say there's 50 doctors, one says don't do it or whatever, and 49 telling you, you should probably go with the odds. T Much is your turn.
Isn't it strange though that now that there's the vaccine's out, now there's a variant now to fight the vaccine, and it all seems to at the same time. Seems all at the same time.
The variant's not.
Would you say a coincidence?
It seems.
Are you saying it's a conspiracy?
I'm not saying anything. It's a question that I'm asking. It's just I gotta play.
The answer to that in several ways. We'll start with this. Is you'll remember the H1n1 flu from some years back. That virus was novel too. It hadn't been seen. Flus are divided into 2 types of subgroups, but not to get from there. But anyway, it was the body didn't have any real resistance to that strain of flu. Fast forward to 2019, the flu vaccine for that year was very effective, and the main component it protected again was H1n1. Somewhere along the line, maybe COVID will be that way, but it's not unusual that like you saw that flu and you have different strains of flu for this COVID virus. It's not unusual to have variants for it. It's a virus, but
at the same exact time, a variant's out, and now there's 3 different vaccines you can take, and then now it's automatically FDA approved. The next thing you know, there's another.
Well, all right, let's not automatically approved.
Pretty quick.
Well, I mean, how do you say pretty quick? Well,
I'm just going. I keep it blood raw, so I don't think nobody said, on Tuesday we're going to approve a vaccine. On Wednesday, this is going to be done, because basically there's always some type of conspiracy. I just know that people are still dying. We're lucky to be in the Keys. This is paradise. I don't have any problem with any type of decision that's made. I just, the majority rule. That's why you have.
Well, Kenneth Alonso asked, "What about ivermectin?"
Well, that's what's on here, so he beat us to the punch. So let me ask the question officially.
You got Clayton Lopez in here too.
Clayton, well, he's another health gentleman. Clayton, welcome to the show. I'm just for the record. I'll be sending this to you. You guys have a mayor up there and 6 commissioners. Each of them gonna get this video. You can look at it from top to bottom. So we'll have a jump start on what's going on September 1st. Are you planning to be at the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, and I don't want you to sugarcoat nothing. Does ivermectin work for COVID?
There is no real scientific. There's no scientific studies that have been validated that it does work. There are those that it has a following. There's circumstantial evidence that it can work. but remember what it is. So if you're gonna take it, make sure that there's a doctor monitoring you, because what we're talking about, ivermectin is an anti-parasitic drug. In other words, it kills parasites. It's only used in very limited applications for parasites in human beings.
Was that what we call off-label?
Off-label would be using it to treat COVID in this case, or other cases. So, and that can be done, but the thing is, for the vast majority of people, it's not proven in any kind of large studies. The last study there was a big study in Egypt that seemed to validate that it worked really well, but the articles that said how well it worked have been withdrawn because there were real issues over the credibility.
Is that in a journal or something?
Yes.
It was in a journal.
Yes.
Okay. So, the question becomes now, because usually when there's smoke, there's fire, right? So
usually
when I have people that come out here that they, for sure, it's a fact that they had COVID. There's no question about it. It's a fact that they took ivermectin, because, as you know, I did the program with Dr. Burroughs for a very long time.
Right.
And then they say, they were feeling a certain way one day, and some of them in 48 hours, they felt like they could go shoot the basketball. It's not been one person, but several people. Does that gain any weight with you, or would you, it's either got to be because, common sense, either something is working, the ivermectin worked, or it was some type of coincidence that it was going to go in that direction. This is what I fight with, because I've actually sat here with several people. Some have
right.
So how would you, what do you think about that when you actually hear these stories?
These stories, like I say, there's circumstantial evidence that it helps people. My real concern about all of this is make sure you're under the care of a physician to be getting the ivermectin. For gosh sakes, don't use it. Don't use any kind of animal product, which is what it's usually. Ivermectin is used much more frequently.
But a doctor can prescribe it for a person?
Yeah.
Well, the ones that, yes.
But they took in the wrong...
two things. It was a pharmaceutical that was made for human beings, and it was a doctor who knew what they were doing, and he was following the patient. The issue, you take it yourself, because you could go buy it.
Sure.
You buy it and take it. An animal, it's not subject to the same controls. The dosages are different, and you can have some real serious side effects.
I think here's where the confusion is at. Okay, if you take the ivermectin that's prescribed for animals, you're definitely going to have a huge problem. Don't do that, right?
Yes.
That's what we're saying, right?
Yes.
Don't. Now, we have people on the program that have taken exactly what he said. The one that's for animal, I don't know if it's
What kind of animal is it for? Any kind of animal? A horse? What?
Anything that has it's one of the most effective heartworm medicines that there are, but also for other parasites in animals.
But the one we're talking about is not the one you take for animals. It's different.
It's the same drug. It's just formulated different. It's like what you would use on a horse and a cow. Obviously, is a much larger dose than for a human being, and also the animal pharmaceuticals are not subject to the same kind of scrutiny as human drugs.
But there's a separation of what you take on the pill, from what I understand. Because if you take the one that's not if you take a lot, if you take the wrong one, the one for animals, there's a problem. So when you prescribe something, they're not giving you the one that's for animals.
Right, like when Dr. Burroughs is doing it, to go back, because he's been a leading proponent of it.
Yeah.
He thinks this is going to help you very much. And he is prescribing a drug that is meant for human beings.
Correct.
The only difference is the FDA has not had any studies to see that you should use ivermectin for COVID treatment. And the reason being is COVID is a virus, and this drug works against parasites. So that's all I'm saying. If you want to do it, make sure you've got a physician that knows what they're doing, and you're getting and you're getting your drug from.
I've got a question.
Go ahead, question.
This is from my doctor told me if I get the vaccine because I had COVID pretty bad and was hospitalized in ICU for a month that I will. This is from Kenneth Alonzo. That I will. Let's see more. Second. I will get sick and okay. I had COVID pretty bad and was hospitalized in ICU for a month that I will get really sick. Is this true? My doctor told me if I get the vaccine because I had COVID pretty bad and was hospitalized in ICU for a month that I will get really sick. Is this true?
By taking the vaccine?
Yeah.
Well, I'm really not going to answer that because he's because I don't know what his conditions are,
Right.
but he's got a physician. So my thing to answer to that is you make sure that you
Follow the
continue
doctor's orders.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know that you continue.
Well, what
to see
you
the
just
doctor.
said, whatever the doctor and your doctor,
Yes.
every case is different.
Right, and your
Okay.
doctor should know
Hold
you.
on. Stand by there, because I want to get to this ivermectin thing here. Okay, so now I want to, you know how you do basic math. Now we're going to go to calculus with the ivermectin, right? So prophylactic ivermectin. Have you know about this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I know what the answer is. So I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is on your side. So
Okay.
vaccine on this side,
Yes.
prophylactic ivermectin on this side.
Yes.
You're definitely going all the way to the right in your opinion. You're not definitely doing it.
Yes.
Okay.
No, yes. I mean, the things I know, the things that science has proved, the vaccinations work. I hear a lot about how good ivermectin is. There are people that believe in it, but it has not ever been substantiated in really large trials. And the only study that did say it was good was withdrawn because of the validity of the study became.
I want to also say this. This is what dialogue's all about.
Yes.
We get, doctors in a room, and I'm talking to every doctor in the whole entire county. I don't care if you live in Key Largo, Marathon, Big Coppet, Bay Point, wherever you live. If we get work together,
Yes.
Teamwork make the dream work. I done told you all this instead of bickering. Within each other, then we will move the community along. We're supposed to be. I got a sticker around here somewhere. One human family,
Yeah.
or whatever. But it's got to. We have to do better.
I have a
promise you,
question.
we have to do better. So I have to thank Dr. Burrows for all the work that he's done. I thank all doctors because, like you, he's put blood, sweat, and tears. And to be honest with you, the gentleman doesn't have no reason to push ivermectin. Not like he bought stock or anything. And ivermectin, this is what he really believes in it. So you gotta respect that.
Oh, I do. And I do.
And then if a person goes to the doctor and the doctor says these are the pros and cons of it, that's what you're saying
Correct.
to do. Or
Correct.
And you're giving, from being from the health department,
Right.
you're saying that you're number one on top of the list, not even close, is vaccines.
Right.
So my question is, where did so basically there's a Delta variant. There'll be more variants after this. Do you think this thing's just gonna try to kill us all regardless?
No, and the reason I will say it won't try to kill us all, and that's because if you got a virus that was 100% lethal, the virus would die too. You remember when I go back and said that if you go back if you had a virus that's really too effective, then it'll run out of hosts because it will have killed all of them at some point in time. So for an epidemic to go on, you've got to have a critical mass of enough of a reservoir of all of the virus in this case that is continuing to pass to uninfected people. And if it killed everybody, then it literally would just die out. So what you want to do, and this is what you try to do with separating the people that are infected from not, is if you get that critical mass, whatever it will take to keep it moving within a community, you get that below that critical mass, it will indeed just die out. Now it may not go away forever, just like we were talking about H1n1, but the human body will have developed its own immunity so that it is not as effective as it was. there are some diseases that, well, the reason COVID was so bad is because the human body had no defense against it. It had never been within human beings until it made that jump from wherever it came from.
Where do you think it came from? Now, where did this Delta variant come from now, too? There's
the Delta variant is and there's an Alpha variant, there's a Lambda variant. It's just a variant of the original that came around. Where it came from, we know it came out of China. Now,
Right.
how it got into the Chinese population, I don't know. It could very well, and I don't know. I mean, it's possible.
It could have very well. What were you going to say?
I said it very well could have escaped from a lab somewhere. I don't know. I doubt. I know there's theories out there that it was released by the Chinese government, but I cannot for the life of me believe that would happen, because look at the economic devastation that every country has and is suffering, including China.
Right now, it's a mystery.
It is a mystery.
We really don't
It
know.
is a mystery.
And you think we're going to have to continue to get booster shots?
It's possible. Yeah, I think it's really possible. It may end up being something like the flu that you get flu shots every year for.
Now, what I've learned too, I said I'm not a scientist or doctor. I just talk to people that basically have good information. Is that even with the flu shot, this is not the same flu shot that you take every year.
No.
They make it different or whatever, fighting whatever is going on.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, you try to see what's happening in the southern hemisphere because their seasons are different.
So if you put
in Asia.
two plus two together, you're really taking a different vaccine for the flu, because not the same one that you take. Because when you say the flu shot, you think it's one shot. Here's the bottle or whatever.
It's a cocktail every year.
So it's kind of like a booster shot, because it's not the same way. They just don't call it
exactly
booster, right?
Exactly.
Makes sense?
That's a good way to look at it.
How are we doing at the hospital right now? This second.
At this very minute, we're not at the top of the numbers that we have, but the condition of the hospital here in Lower Keys, they have said it's yellow.
That's the highest we've ever been, right?
Today it was down some.
I mean,
think
for
it
the
was
whole
at
pandemic,
26,
yellow is
but
the
for the
highest.
yes, this week we've had the highest. The hospital's able to handle it. It's their staff is run ragged, and so they could help. They are trying to get more staff in to help with all the additional patients. Upper Keys, you see that there are people there too that are being treated for COVID. They normally would have sent their patients to the mainland in the Kendall or somewhere like that in the Baptist system, but now they're having to retain them. But the good news is right now, I think there may be 3 on a ventilator here and 1 on in the Upper Keys. That changes. The good news is there are so much better treatments now. The monoclonal antibodies is and we'll talk about that if you want, extremely effective. But it's you can treat people, and so it's not like the death sentence we saw at the first.
So is that a new drug that's showing a lot of promise?
Yes.
What's the name of it again?
Yes, it's called monoclonal antibodies, and there's also remdesivir is the thing that President Trump was treated with. But they're effective.
And I'm glad that you brought names. Here's another thing I want to be clear with y'all. One person's life is not more important than another person.
Correct.
Just because a famous person or a prominent person, like we had in the community, has died, I asked her, can you tell me the other people that died? And I'm going to keep it blood raw with y'all. A lot of y'all can't. So basically, that doesn't make it, I hate when people use this, which a prominent person has passed away, to further their agenda. I have a problem with this, because the person that died, I didn't know their name. Their life was just as important as just the other people, it was known better. And I don't want anybody to die. So I'm going to tell you all this again. I'm glad that you came on the program. I think you guys need to have meetings together, put these egos down, get together, pick up a phone or whatever,
Right.
and get together and just get to the meats and potatoes. One might agree with ivermectin, the other one might, okay, we don't agree, let's move on to the next thing. There might be 5 other things you guys could agree on, and it'll help the community, because like I said, we need to get on the same page if we're gonna really beat this thing, not only
Correct.
locally, but worldwide. So, it's a tough situation. What are the symptoms of the new Delta variant now?
They'll be exactly the same that you had from the original strain.
Because I've been seeing that they're saying that some people now experiencing maybe headaches and a couple of different.
You're gonna have respiratory distress in the sense that I'm saying that. That's not like just being congestion. It's like you will feel heavy in your chest. You'll have trouble breathing. You'll notice
Shortness of breath.
notice that it's a shortness of breath to inhale.
Right.
You'll have a fever generally, and 2 of the really big telltale signs are if you lose your taste or you lose your sense
When I
of
had
smell.
the COVID, I went on the ivermectin protocol.
Okay.
I learned that the first day that you felt bad, that's the day where the count starts.
Yes.
Not when they tested, because basically what Dr. Burroughs said, and I'm not sure if the policy is still the same, the minute you came to the advanced urgent care and looked, walked, and talked like COVID, and you was a candidate for ivermectin, before the test even came back and put you
I
on
would agree.
ivermectin, right?
I would agree.
And-
Whatever. Right.
Yeah.
The sooner you get treated, the
Right.
better you
It's
are.
like a cold. If you let it go
Right.
for 3 days, you don't pop
Right.
a pill over the counter, and of course it's going to
Right.
get worse. So, to me, I did my count, and I know a lot of people that had it, worse than me. But my thing was, I just had a real strong body ache, tired. So if you need to sleep 19 hours, you need to sleep 19 hours, watch Netflix, whatever it is that need. And then I did my time, and basically I was fine. A whole bunch of people didn't make it because it wasn't in the card for them. But there's a lot of people that probably could have had a better chance of making it if you had the information and you started from day one.
Right.
If you even think that you have COVID, you need don't
Thank
even
you.
how and especially my Cuban culture don't like to go to the hospital for nothing. Go to the hospital, go to urgent care, go somewhere immediately and attack it. Don't wait 2 days late. 2 days might be too much. I like to thank FloridaKeysIndy.com, accident lawyers in the Keys. If you have an accident, car, moped, bicycle, God forbid, on these golf carts we got going around here in the ocean, just go local with FloridaKeysIndy.com. Much questions, any people checking in? Before I get to the last question over here, if you want to scroll up and down.
James Camoon.
James from the Perry. James, what is the occupancy rate at the Perry in good old Stock Island today, sir? Any more questions? Anything?
No, I'm not. No,
Okay,
I'm not
good.
going back.
All right, so what are your recommendations for people to boost their immune systems to the highest possible level allowed? What would you recommend how people would do that?
Well, first, obviously, you get vaccinated. And
Okay.
when you're talking about your immune system, whatever it takes you to be as healthy as you possibly can.
Right.
That's one thing to say too. The biggest thing that seems to be is obesity and diabetes seem to be the driving comorbidities or the other conditions with your body that allows COVID to really affect your body. I mean, obviously there are other conditions you have, but even in children, you will notice, or adolescents, the obesity and diabetes. So what I'm saying, and to answer your question, whatever it takes for you to be healthy, do it.
So it's common sense.
Yeah, you were talking about airborne.
Yeah.
And if that makes you healthy, there's nothing wrong with that. Just
Airborne,
make sure what you're doing.
If y'all watching, man, I got it's the #1 commercial you could have in the nation. I mean, it's a true
It was
story.
invented by a teacher.
Oh, was it?
Airborne was, yes.
Well, speaking about teachers, I want to give a shout out to the governor for giving teachers an extra $1,000 and putting a lot of stuff out there. To me, teachers, medical profession should be the highest paid profession, or especially with teachers, because this is the future, of our children. And like like I said, I want everybody to be healthy, and I just want, you know, to do the best we can. And in this community, I think we've done pretty well, and we're actually in a good climate now. And you know, let's face it, people want to come to Key West because it's hot, it's outdoors, and if they're looking to a place to be the safest, they're gonna pick, you know, Key West. So I'm glad that you say that, you know, it's not right side or left side, it's somewhere in between. But if we go to, you know, certain levels that are just overwhelming, I'll be the first one to tell you that, you know, you probably have to, you know, unfortunately shut some stuff down, because you know, it's like when you work at a club and you could fit more people in, but you feel a safety concern, you shouldn't put more people in because you're putting people's life at jeopardy. So any closing words you'd like to say to the audience today? I appreciate your time here. Thank you so much for coming in, and I look forward to everybody staying healthy and you keep this dialogue going.
I think two things. One, get vaccinated. The other, thank you for having me here. But yeah, I have thought from the beginning that we've needed a dialogue that has been missing on both sides. I mean, I don't think we should have been talking rather than yelling at one another.
Thank you.
And trying to listen. And also, there should have never been politics from anywhere involved in this. It should have been just our agenda is to keep people safe, and then to make sure people are kept safe and they're healthy, etc. from there. And that didn't happen in some cases.
Like for example, when we had the thing with the cruise ships, you know, say I'm the mayor on the streets, not up there on the diocese, but I assembled a group of 7 people, including the people that put the referendum forward, and I had a 2-hour discussion, and the people got along just fine. They just said their information. So we might have not had gone to the referendum if we sat down on the table. And I appreciate social media. Mark, you've done a great job with Facebook and everybody with Twitter and Instagram. This is not a place to be airing out professionalism over a dialogue of social media. You disagree with a doctor, he's a professional. You agree, you put stuff on social media. This is just not the way to go about things or whatever. Our job is to put the information out there, facts or whatever, and pick up a phone. Somebody got to be the bigger man and pick up a phone. You know, good old boy Dr. Girth?
Yes, very well.
You know what he told me? You said about the weight. He said, man, I don't want to start taking these pills. He said, well, if you don't want to start taking these pills, nothing to do with the pandemic or anything. He said, you got to put that weight in a box. So when he seen me, I dropped 30 pounds. I said, well, you took that man and put, but that weight is, people be surprised, dropping weight, period, how much that helps your life.
Oh, yes.
Terry Much, T Much, thank you for the production. All love today. Bob Eadie, the Bucks stops with this gentleman. All love today. And I look forward to everybody having dialogue. Thank you all for tuning in, and make sure we just be nice and kind, and we'll get through all this together in a one human family way. Holla!